the happiest place on earth 2 times in one day. This is episode 425. And I want to thank everyone out there listening. We didn't do the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day this morning, but I had one of the most amazing episodes, an interview with Megan Gallinger. If you get the chance, go back, listen to episode 424. It's called Marketing Made Easy. 20-year vet in the marketing industry. This woman is working to put on NiftyCon, which I'm actually going to be speaking at. So if you're an attorney out there, I tell you, digital marketing for attorneys and how can you quiet the noise and get your voice and your brand out there in an authentic way and to be able to have it set for you throughout time. It was unbelievable to sit with her today. I've actually got a synopsis too of what we went through because I was writing all the notes, right? So let me see here. As I was writing the notes for her, this was the thing is she said this concept, which was take a shower, put on deodorant and show up, right? Take a shower, wash off all the things that you think are the norm, or maybe it's the nastiness that have come on you or your attitude or whatever it is. So take a shower. Number 2, put on some deodorant. Don't put on too much, smell good, but enough so you're not funky when you're around people. And then the last one is just show up. And the showing up is probably 95% of the battle. Reputation management, consistency, staying nimble, recreating or recreation, and also just to stay curious and you stay in that cycle. And for an attorney, it can be amazing. Like I said, I'm going to be speaking at NiftyCon. It's September 18th through the 20th. So make sure that you get a chance to be able to do that. We're doing the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, as you know. And what I've figured over these over 100 episodes that we've done since January 6th. So today marks the 107th episode since January 6th. And what I've been noticing is, number 1, working the muscle of being able to deliver a message. But number 2, I like to laugh. I've looked at a lot of the recordings that I've had and things like that, and sometimes I get a little too serious. So I want to make sure that we laugh today, but we also bring you 3,000-year-old wisdom that's applicable today, every single day, in all aspects of your life. Today is Proverbs 9. It's a quick one, only 18 verses, and it is incredible. So why don't we get this party started?
Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Welcome to The Vibe with your host, your boy, Kelly Cardenas. I thank you so much for being here. I stole my wife's glasses. I didn't realize that these were the only ones that I have. And for those of you just listening, I've got a yellow beanie on and a different color of yellow glasses, but you'll have to forgive me. I do have to see, and I'm almost 50 years old, so vision starts to blur a little bit. Proverbs 9. Corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. And what I mean by that is there is 31 proverbs in the book of Proverbs. I'm in the NIV version. There's 31 days in a month generally. And so on the first of the month, we read Proverbs 1. On the second of the month, we read Proverbs 2, so on and so forth. And we read the same ones the next month. But the cool thing is because even though we're reading the exact same text, our circumstances are going to be a little bit different. So you're going to read it different, and then we're going to get to a point where it starts reading you, and that's where it was today for me, and the title of it is The Choice is Yours. And all I could think of was black sheep today. The choice is yours. You could get with this, or you could get with that. I think you'll get with this because this is where it's at, right? And so the choice is yours, and this was the choice between wisdom and foolishness. And the cool thing is, the breakdown of it, Wisdom and foolishness, they call out from the same place, in the same voice, to the same people, but they have completely different messages. And it's an incredible breakdown. So first of all, we're going to start off with wisdom, and that is in verse 1 through 6. In Proverbs 9, wisdom has built her house. She has set up her 7 pillars. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. She has set her table. She has sent out her servants, and she calls from the highest point in the city. Let all those who are simple come to my house. To those who have no sense, she says, come and eat my food and drink my wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways and you will live. Walk in the way of insight. And this is what I wrote down from there. The wisdom's called, first of all, wisdom built her house, right? So wisdom built her house and has a firm foundation. Second of all, she prepared the spoils, the food and the wine. And from the highest point in the city, she calls out to the simple, come and eat and drink and leave your silly ways and walk in insight and live. That sounds like a good one, right? It sounds like something that I would want to do. And when I look at this thing, it's incredible. Like if the story just stopped there, I would say, man, that's what we need to do. But that's not always who's calling. Sometimes it's through social media. Sometimes it's through email. Sometimes it's through circumstances that another voice is coming. We'll talk about that here in a second. But in the second part of this, it's foolish people won't listen. This is what he talks about in verse 7 through 9, or 7 through 12. Whoever corrects a mocker invites insults. Whoever rebukes the wicked incurs abuse. Do not rebuke the mockers, or they will hate you. Rebuke the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will become wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For through wisdom your days will be many, and your years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you're a mocker, you alone will suffer. Watch this. Foolish people won't listen. Wise people will. Wisdom comes from God. Wisdom will reward you. Foolishness will create suffering. Right? So the breakdown of it. But also, if you look in this, what I loved about it is in verse 10, it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. So to know the difference between wisdom and folly, because they're calling it the same route, calling with the same tone, we got to look to God. And how can we look to God? Just spend time with him. Corresponding proverb, corresponding day. Read the word, spend a little bit of time, check out his character, respect him, which means to fear him. That'll lead to wisdom. Wisdom will lead to understanding. Understanding will lead to insight. Insight will lead to discretion. Discretion will lead to discipline. Discipline to strength. And strength right on back to the respect of God or the fear of God. And then that way, what happens is
Willie D, or one other.
Wisdom will happen. So this is what I love here. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring this man on. What up, Mr. Willie? Willie. Hold on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Willie?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So I love this, Willie, because you asked me earlier, but would you be cool with being on the podcast?
Let me ask you something real quick.
Okay, ask you.
What if I told you that you were on my podcast right now?
What if I would probably say, man, I would love that. That would be so cool.
What's up, dude?
Hey, check this out. What we're talking about is the difference between wisdom and foolishness. Right? And so in Proverbs 9,
right.
We were just right in the middle of this. And the crazy thing is, man, in Proverbs 9, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, wisdom, right? And I'll write it down for you real quick. Wisdom built a firm foundation, so built on firm footing. Prepared the spoils for it. Calls out from the highest point of the city. calls out and says, come and eat and drink and leave your silly ways, walk in insight. And then it says in this, from verse 7 through 12, foolish people won't listen. Wise people will. Wisdom comes from God. Wisdom will reward you. Foolishness will create suffering. So that's where we were when you called in. And I love this because talk to me about the difference in your mind between wisdom and foolishness, because you deal with this on a day-to-day basis, not only just in your normal life, but in your work life and in all aspects.
Yeah. I think wisdom comes with having forethought. Wisdom comes with taking a measured approach to things, being informed, making informed decisions, whereas foolishness is, making snap decisions, just kind of going off of impulse as opposed to going off of information.
So how can you seek that? Like, how can you say, do you have to consciously seek that wisdom out? Because what the crazy thing in verse 9, or in Proverbs 9 today, and for those of you hearing this voice that's coming through right now, this is my best friend in my whole entire life. From 4th grade, we've been rocking together since I was 9 years old. So this is a 40-year friendship. So when he calls me, he's always weary now because he's going to be live on the podcast. Like that's what I told him is, you have to, and all of you have to meet my friends because these guys are so cool. But it's not just about us laughing, which I love that part, and we're going to get to that here in a second, is Willie, in Proverbs 9, it talks about wisdom, and then it talks about the difference between, when you correct a foolish person or you correct a wise person, like the foolish person will reject you and the wise person will accept it and get wiser. And then at the end, it talks about how foolishness calls out. And what I saw in this, man, which was wild, is it says that foolishness calls out exactly the same as wisdom. So check this out. I just want to read this to you really quick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so check this out. It says, let's see. She has sent out her servants, and she calls from the highest point in the city. This is talking about wisdom. Let all those who are simple come to my house. Though all those who have no sense, she says, come and eat my food, drink my wine, and leave your simple ways, and you will live in the way of insight. And then if we go down here in verse 14, it's this is folly calling out. Folly is an unruly woman. She is simple and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house on a seat at the highest point of the city, exactly the same as highest point of the city in verse 3. That's wisdom calling. This is folly calling. She sits at the door of her house on a seat at the highest point, calling out to all those who pass by. That's the same thing that wisdom does. Who go straight on their way. Let those who are simple come to my house. That's exactly what wisdom would say. To those who have no sense, she says, stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious, but little do they know the dead are there and that her guests are deep in the realm of the dead. So it's amazing because it's the exact same call, except wisdom says, leave your simple ways and walk in the way of insight. And foolishness says, stolen water is sweet and food eaten in secret is delicious. Willie, how can you know when something is wise or it's foolish? Because it seems to be calling in our lives exactly the same, most of the time from the same place with the same voice to the same people. How do you know the difference?
The difference is one is informed and one is a fool and knows nothing.
You're probably one of the most informed people that I know. And I'll give you some shenanigans most of the time because my NBA math has proven to be wise, I would say. Mm-hmm. Some people would not say wise, and my NFL math is the same way. How do you stay informed?
Being a lifelong learner and doing research and doing the footwork necessary to know what I'm talking about and having as much information as possible before I make big decisions that impact, aspects of my work. I don't like to go into situations uninformed and not knowing, because more often than not, you're going to make decisions based on things you know nothing about. And ultimately, those situations usually result in, a negative outcome, or an outcome that is less than to be desired.
When's the last time that you made that type of decision? Like you thought at the point, like, hey, here this thing is, you're posed with it. You've always been a very thoughtful person. Even when we were kids and I would want to do stupid stuff like go doorbell ditching or throw water balloons at people or eggs at their house when I was a kid, you would make informed decisions. But I would love to know if there was ever a time where you made a snap decision and then you paid the price.
Oh, I'm sure I've done that a million times. I think that sometimes you have to go through that in order to come to the realization that it's you get a far better result from coming from a place of information and of knowledge, and making informed decisions. Usually the snap decision is the one that you have less control over the outcome.
How can you know, like when people are doing research, because nowadays there's so much information, right? When we were kids, growing up, and at your house I think we had European Vacation on VHS that we watched every day. There wasn't as much information. If we got a movie, we had to go to Blockbuster, right? Or to the base and rent something that hopefully they have out that particular movie. But nowadays, with so much information, how do you make sure and filter the information to know that that's the thing that's actually going to inform you as opposed to lead you down the foolish path?
That's a great question, man. I would like to say that a lot of that has to do with how I was raised. Being able to discern between, solid information and disinformation. I'm someone who reads regularly from various sources. I'm someone who went to way more college than I should have, given that I'm still paying for it. But I don't know, man, because not everyone believes in the same facts. Not everyone places value on knowledge and education. Not everyone places a value on reading. Not everyone places value on being informed. So, in 2024, I don't know how to answer that question.
So this was the part.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
No, go. Keep going.
I was just gonna say that, I can only speak for myself, and what I do and how I approach things is when I'm making a decision that impacts others, I try to have empathy and understand what the potential outcomes are for them when I go into it.
So this was a thing.
Because when I make decisions, my decisions usually are impacting other people.
Mm. Did you know that from an early age?
Yeah. My mom instilled in me having empathy.
I think your mom was one of the most empathetic people that I've ever experienced ever.
Yep, indeed.
She was way before her time.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. But ultimately, not everyone is raised the same way. Not everyone shares the same values. Not everyone shares the same morals, ethics. Yeah, it's just the world has changed.
So I wanted to talk about this too, because you're one of the main reasons why when I started off doing the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, a lot of our sidebar conversation really enticed me and motivated me and inspired me to keep on the journey. And the reason why is because, when we had conversations, you were like, I really don't read. Like you're an avid reader. But the Bible and Proverbs wasn't something that that was on the docket, good, bad,
right,
and different, whatever it was. Can you talk about a little bit of that view? Because we grew up together. We grew up in the same house, basically, me and you.
Yeah.
for our whole entire lives. And it's cool because we don't read everything the same. We have so many things in common, but I think it's the things that we differ on that creates such a great relationship and friendship. But let's talk specifically about this where, I've been going through the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. I know you don't listen to every single one of them, but you have tuned in. Why is that? And what have you gleaned from it?
Well, number one, when I'm reaching for something to read, unfortunately, it's usually not the Bible.
Most people aren't, man. Most people, there's no way.
It's not my idea of, it's an amazing book. I have read portions of it, but I've not steeped in the Bible and understanding the Bible.
Yeah.
And so when you started this podcast, I thought it was interesting because you're able to kind of analyze it and discuss it in a way that, my, Cro-Magnon brain can understand when it comes to, talking about the Bible.
What was the connotation? And what was the connotation for you? And this is the way that most people, and this is the thing that I had said, is in doing this journey, the Wisdom and the Vibe, that this playlist and these commentary podcasts, it was such a shift because I was just doing the interview part, and sometimes I was doing commentary, but I was doing it on business or whatever it was, and I dove into this part, and I wanted to make it just almost to my kids. I wanted to make it normal because it's not normal. Like you pull out a Bible, and that's the quickest way to end a conversation.
Yeah. You want to clear the room real quick? You're like, well, let me tell you about John 3:19. You'll be all right. See you later. Take care, man. I gotta go pick up my kids, or my doctor just called.
Why do you think that is? We've had these conversations, but why do you think that is, man?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. It's just never been something that I fully understand. I think most people don't. Like the Bible is something that most people don't, whether it be, the language that is used, that's not, conversational language.
Yeah.
I think that at times the Bible can be viewed as, a controversial document or, piece of literature. But, I don't know, man. I definitely don't have all the answers once we go down this road.
Well, I don't either. And this is the cool thing is, for me, this morning was all about the choice is yours. That's what the name of the podcast was. And all I could think was black sheep, right? And while I was reading this morning, it's amazing because when the word starts to come alive, the choice is yours. You could choose wisdom. You could choose foolishness. And watch this. This is what God gave me this morning was that wisdom and foolishness have the same call from the same place to the same people in the same voice. And the only way that you'll know the difference is to spend time with God, understand his character, respect or fear him, and he will give you the wisdom and understanding to know the difference. So the choice is yours, right? And so it's crazy. And then all I keep thinking in my head over and over again, you could get with this, or you could get with that.
Or you could get with that. And, it gets no simpler than that. And I think that when it's put in those terms, it's more relatable to us heathens. And then we'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Or I understand that. And it becomes more interesting. I think that the Bible's viewed as, a complicated work,
Absolutely. And it's amazing when I started, and this is the way that I was with my pop. My pop was really big on it, read one page a day and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, whatever, Pop. And you knew him. You knew Pop. And, you know, you knew how militant he was and how repetitive he was. I mean, he would be out in the street with you with a football, grab the ball, focus on the ball. You know, he'd throw it, like play catch, but he could teach you how to do something at a high level. When he did this at first, I was like, whatever. But I truly, truly believe that him and my mama knew that I was going to spend most of my life without him.
Right.
But they were going to give me like a blueprint and a roadmap, and, you know, not from a religious standpoint, not from a ritualistic standpoint. And this is the question that I have for you, because I know, you know, this is going to be the last one. Well, I'll have one more after this one. Why have you allowed me to discuss those things in our friendship and in our relationship, and you've stuck around, where most of the time when a person even mentions God or mentions the Bible, then it's like, let's run for the hills. But you've encouraged it with me.
Absolutely. Well, it's something that you're passionate about. You're a believer. I myself am a believer, although, you know, in practice, I may not be the best at it, but in my heart, you know, I'm definitely a follower of sweet baby Jesus. And I think that for me, it's important to be able to have someone in my life that's close to me that has that level of understanding and a very strong relationship, you know, in their faith, because it gives me a resource to gain more understanding. Because I come to you with my own questions about stuff, you know, from a religious standpoint all the time.
And what do you see the different? What do you see the difference? We've talked about this, where a lot of times, like for me, I've always not shunned, but I've always almost stiff-armed or sidestepped the religious part, where I'm you know, connected to the relationship part.
Yes.
But what do you see as the difference in that?
In
relationship versus religion.
I got you. Well, I think that what is important is the relationship. I think sometimes the religion part can get in the way of the relationship. And, you know, what's most important is the relationship you have.
Well,
you know, just because you attend church every day doesn't mean that you have a good relationship, that your relationship is solid in that way. You know, I know a lot of people throughout my life who consider themselves religious, and yet how they live their life didn't match, you know, how they tried to portray themselves.
Wow.
So I always saw a lot of contradiction in that. And that's why I've always kind of been in the gray area when it comes to that, man. Like, you know, I've had kind of a weird relationship with my faith and, you know, embracing and understanding it, because it's the religious part of it that kind of pushes me away.
Yeah.
But it's knowing that, you know, I still have like this budding and growing relationship in my faith that keeps me connected. And, you know, the aspect of our relationship that we have is that I can have conversations with you that I don't normally have. I don't, you know, like you're my primary resource. You're like kind of my connection to Jesus in my own way. So.
Well, I appreciate
you're my excuse to not go to church, man.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm here for you.
I talked to Kelly today. So
I love
looks like
you.
I can watch football on Sunday.
Well, I think it's funny because I rolled up on my bike the other day and to church. I had my helmet on. I rolled up and my buddy was like, "Oh man!" And because I had my headphones on, and I was laughing when I got there because the whole way there, now this was Pandora, and I choose. This is just my choice. I choose to have the edited version of Pandora. I've done this because I have the kids and, you know, whatever.
Sure.
But I'm riding up and I got a huge smile on my face, and my buddy's like, "Oh man, you having a good day?" I say, "Yes, I'm having a good day because I got Wu-Tang in my ears, and I just showed up to church." And the differences, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I want people to understand that you can still live your life, be a human being, have a ton of fun, enjoy the things that you love, and also have a relationship. Those are the things that, I hope that people can understand.
Yes, man, and I think that's huge. And I think that if there was more focus on the relationship and less on the religiousness aspect of it, I think that people would feel more free to live their lives, in a way that is true to their faith in the relationship, as opposed to, what's set forth in the rigidity of religiousness. And hopefully no one, takes this the wrong way. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible.
Well, you are. I think you are. But I've said the same thing. We've said this over the years, that I believe that most of the time Christian people turn more people off than turn them on. And the reason why is because, being able to accept and love. And this was something that, when we go back to the conversation of your mom, this was something that your mom never said. She never said it, but she lived it. And her love and her acceptance of every single person into the house, and the love that she showed to every single person at different points in their life, this to me was such a huge inspiration. You know what I mean? Because I got to see,
Sure.
love embodied, as opposed to it just in theory reading about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. Like, she was the true embodiment of what would Jesus do.
Yeah.
Like, she lived it, whereas other people just wear the bracelet.
Well, she is amazing.
And that's kind of the difference between faith and religiousness right there.
Wow. Well, we had some great examples. A shout out to the youth center.
Yep, that's right.
Big shout to the youth center, and to the pizzas that you used to be able to get because you were rich. And the shared now and laters that I got, and the ghetto GI Joe cousins that I would get, the figurines that were cousins of the actual GI Joe figures that you had.
That's true, but I share, man. I share.
I love you so much, man. We got 2 games tonight. Who you got in both games?
Ooh, that is a fantastic question. I'm hoping that these Mavericks can show up tonight.
Okay.
And continue to handle their business. That first game, I'm not too interested, man. Celtics they should sweep that.
Yeah.
But, that's probably the worst matchup out of the remaining teams, Celtics and Cavs.
And who do you think took the title with the Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing?
I think you'd have to give it to Kendrick Lamar. But in all honesty, like, in listening to it, I just felt that it was less about hip-hop and more about personal grievance.
Yeah.
Like, these two guys aren't seeing eye to eye. They have some personal differences, and, it kind of went outside of the realm of, the traditional rap beef. And, I think they're kind of too old to be to be in this kind of beef. Yeah, granted, it's resulted in a lot of streams and #1 album, and for record executives, but I don't think it's really contributed to hip hop in tangible way that moves the genre forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think it's a little bit of a sideshow, but if, you know, I had to score it, I'd say that Kendrick wins.
Well, I tell you, I want to tell you, I was thinking about you today. I actually got to listen to episode 416 when it's called, if you haven't gone back and listened to it, it'll be great. So I'm going to use a reference from that. And honestly, like, I mean, you are so rich in your heart, rich with giving, that I can 100% with clarity and conviction say that you are the P. Diddy of Friends. So.
Gotta love it, man.
I listened back to that episode, man, and oh my gosh, I was just laughing to myself. So, what do you have to say about that, man? That's a hell of a compliment that I just gave you.
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I think I went through a dead zone and all I heard was silence.
Are you joking?
So I actually missed it.
Are you joking?
I swear to God.
I
swear.
What I was saying, man, is, I mean, with your giving heart, with all the love that you give, with all the wisdom that you give, I can truly say that you are the P. Diddy of Friends.
Ooh, yeah, don't ever say that again, man. Yeah, no. Nope. He and I don't live the same kind of life.
Do you remember that used to be something that we could say, and it was an endearing term, and now.
But you know what? But it's still it was more like an acknowledgement of like if you were flashy or if you got your party on. It wasn't like, man, you're really intelligent, or oh, that's really cool that you are so giving of your time.
I was just saying you're rich in your heart, man. You're wealthy and flashy in your heart is what I was saying.
Hey, well, yeah. That's like the worst way to say it, man.
I love you, dude.
It's like, hey, man, you're so committed and, you know, so loving that, you know, you really get after it like Dahmer. You're so passionate. You're so passionate.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah.
Dude, I'm sweating right now because I'm laughing so hard.
Yeah.
So that's
I don't ever want to be mentioned in the same sentence with that degenerate.
Dude, I love you so much, man.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't ever want to be that kind of wealthy.
You just want to be Star Wars wealthy. That's what it is.
That's it, man. I just want to be Star Wars wealthy. That's all.
And Transformer wealthy. That's how we do
it.
Right.
That's it, man. And baseball cards.
Yes. Well, I love you, and I'm so sorry, man, that my Wemby dude is gone.
I can't believe you lost that.
I can't believe that I lost it either, bro. So I'm gonna have to go to the card shop and buy it again.
Lucky for you, I have like 10 more of them.
Okay, well that's lucky because they'll be both of ours. You just keep them at your house.
Perfect. Those are my favorite kinds of gifts that I get to hold on to.
Oh, well, I can't. Hey, dude, I can't wait for the 17th. We're going to be riding bikes, hanging out, doing a thing. So, hey, dude, have a phenomenal day. Thank you so much for calling me, man.
Will do. Hey, anytime, my man. Love you.
You got it. Love you too, buddy.
Hey, and listeners, I apologize if, my conversation regarding things faith and religious were potentially offensive for some. It came from a well-meaning place.
No way, dude. I love it. I love to have the open conversation. And because anytime that you speak like on this, like the wisdom and the vibe, when I've been doing this, some people are like, oh man, are you just getting religious? I'm not getting religious on you. What I'm saying is if you could put wisdom out there and foolishness out there, and they're going to call, like I said, I mean, listen to that. Like, they're going to call from the same place. They're going to call to the same
Absolutely.
people, win the same voice, in the exact same voice. And the only way that you'll know the difference is if you test it with 3,000-year-old wisdom, and guess what? It's applicable today. So, I mean, it's my pleasure, my honor, man. I love you, and you're the greatest.
Back at you, my man.
You're the best.
Hey, thank you, dude. Love you too.
Love you too, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Okay, peace.
You got it. Bye-bye.
So as we finish up, guys, you see wisdom calls out exactly the same way as foolishness. How can we know the difference between the two? Spend time with God. That's it. The choice is yours. You could get with this or you could get with that. I think you'll get with this because this is where it's at. My buddy Willie, absolute best friend in the world. Since I was 9 years old, we've been rocking together. It's amazing. The corresponding proverb, corresponding day, and you got to meet my friends all in one. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And even though my video has been a little bit choppy today, you still love it. And I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.